What's up, welcome back to Nowstalgia. Dave here with a review of Charlie Puth's fourth album, Whatever's Clever. 3.5 years since Charlie Puth's previous album came out in the fall of 2022. Charlie is back after delaying this album a little bit to get away from the Harry Styles release date that he previously set for this album. I've long admired and been a fan of Charlie Puth's abilities as a pop songwriter, as a musical composer, just as a creator of music and someone with perfect pitch and understanding of melodic math and all those producing, facets. He's really had a handle on that his whole career. And I was such a big fan of his second album, Voice Notes, which is now several years old from back in 2018 after all, that I was really hoping to hear more of that on the last album. And he really went in a different direction with that. And I found most of those songs just frankly uninteresting compared to the boppy success of that second album. And I think he did a pretty good job actually in promoting this album, doing a really inspired take of the national anthem at the Super Bowl this year. And that first single, Changes, I think did just enough to grab some attention. Charlie Puth's fourth album, Whatever's Clever, is surprising because this is Charlie Puth clearly leaning into his dadcore era as a brand new dad. Charlie Puth and his co-producer Blood Pop have gone full 80s with this album. The use of synth, the sonic direction, there's a clear frame of reference in mind here. We're talking Phil Collins. We're talking yacht rock. And we're talking yacht rock to such a degree that Michael McDonald and Kenny Loggins are actually featured on one of the songs here. While I still long for Charlie's music when it had more of a bite, more of an attitude to it, a la what he did with Voice Notes, there are more interesting songs here than there were on the previous album. More than anything, I find Whatever's Clever a sign of Charlie Puth's continued growth and maturity as an artist. He's talented enough as a pop music creator to really make whatever kind of music he wants to make. Clearly, he sounds and comes across as someone inspired to do exactly what he did on this album. The last thing we want from someone so obviously talented is to come across as aimless like they did on the previous album. So the fact that there's a clear point of view, Whatever's Clever, does give me some solace, even if it's still not exactly the Charlie Puth mode I like the most. That first song, Changes, that lead single, I do think it's pretty strong. I like the synths. I think the chorus is very catchy. I like the layered vocals from Charlie on it. You had that piano solo moment. You have some nice drum tempo. Charlie giving you the bridge in a lower key. I quite enjoy it. I think the background choir on the final iteration of the chorus also sounds really nice. Beat Yourself Up, more horns, definitely a funkier song, funkier sound with this one. I think the vocals come across as pretty natural from Charlie, honestly, not really much effects to it there. The chorus is fine here. I do find Charlie's delivery on the verses to actually be a little bit more compelling than the chorus itself. And there are some more auto-tune touches towards the end of the track as well. Cry, you have a Kenny G feature here, which is, I suppose, pretty inspired. It makes sense in the context of the full album here. Of course, Kenny G previously featured on Kanye's Jesus is King several years ago, right? He's popped up with other pop music here and there. And of course, he has a noticeable, solo moment here with those horns. Washed Up, I think sonically this reminded me of Spice Girls' Stop in the beginning there. Definitely a better chorus. I think the song's pretty cool. Production through these first four tracks, so it's very similar, very, very, very even keel to this point. I think the drums, though, pretty tight. I like that bass line. I do think the outro with the background vocals kind of take you out in a solid way as well. Again, like, these are all pretty good songs. I think Changes is the closest he gets to something like truly like energetic and can hold a candle to like those past bops. But like, he clearly isn't trying to make something as overtly poppy this time around. New Jersey, featuring Raven Lene, I really like this one. I think those synths are really eclectic. The same drums we've been hearing the whole album thus far. Hook is great though. Total strays for New Jersey on the surface, but of course Charlie Puth bemoaning New Jersey as someone who's from and grew up in New Jersey. So I guess it is his right to talk about his birthplace as he wishes. And Raven Lene does fit in pretty well on the song. Don't Meet Your Heroes. I think this is the first break, the first sonic shift with the record here. The drums though, still grooving. It's a more vocally forward song for sure, with Charlie giving you that natural delivery. I think quite lyrically strong. Kind of a clear message in POV with what he's singing about. And there's another nice piano flourish again. Home is a unexpectedly massive highlight featuring Hikaru Utada, who is one of the biggest and best-selling artists in the history of Japanese music. The synths are completely back here. And the vocal delivery is very strong, very rich from Charlie here. The hook, very vibey. And then once Hikaru comes in, you have a really beautiful duet between Charlie and Hikaru Utada here. I think their vocal back and forth is really awesome, and like it's not just a tacked on feature. It really comes together in I think a really impressive way. And again, talk about an inspired feature, right? Charlie Puth with his clout, with his label support on Atlantic, right? He could get most any feature he wants, right? And that's who he wanted to get. Again, it speaks to what he was going for and having like clear intention with the album. Hey Brothers stands out because of it being a more stronger acoustic guitar presence, really for the first time on the album. Pretty solid. Sideways though, featuring Coco Jones, a little bit more bass. I think the song's really cool. I think Coco frankly steals the song from Charlie. Just her vocals. There's just a little bit more power to them, unsurprisingly. The depth of her voice, I think, fits in really well on the drums and the bass with this song. So really cool once again. Love in Exile. This is the yacht rock song featuring Michael McDonald, featuring Kenny Loggins. I mean, cool to hear from them in 2026, I suppose. Not really yacht rock guys, so it's like not necessarily what I'm aiming for, but this was, again, clearly something Charlie Puth wanted to do. And I have a lot more grace for that song, and clearly being like a homage, like a pastiche of a certain genre that Charlie clearly likes and was inspired by in general in terms of the overall 80s influence on this album. I have a lot more time for that than I do for Until It Happens to You, which features a, frankly, really grating feature from Jeff Goldblum. It just feels really tacked on and distracting, frankly, because it's one of those like spoken word / sing-songy things from Jeff Goldblum, not too dissimilar from what he did with Wicked recently. And it's just strange. It just kind of gets in the way, and I think production-wise, there's some interesting moments with that song in terms of the layered drums, the layered vocals and the upbeat drums, and some background choir as well. But the Jeff Goldblum stuff just sounds really out of place and unnecessary. And then lastly, you have I Used to Be Cringe, which, this is a slower song, a piano track. I think it's frankly a somewhat impressive display of self-awareness from Charlie Puth, because it's very reflective on his, his past old career ambitions and what he did to achieve those things. And, I think sonically there's some cool harmonization on the choir and some echo effects and things like that. But just Charlie kind of like nodding at, things he did with the first record, 9-Track Mind, that just come across as really dated and out of place, right? And he even doesn't seem to have nearly as much time for what he did during COVID, right? Where I thought he was very impressively on TikTok and displaying his creative process and his musical, composition abilities and things like that. Even that he seems to look back on not super fondly. And we're clearly just at a different place in Charlie Puth's personal life, where again, he is a new dad, he's married, and he seemingly has less drive to play the pop game and get as big as possible. And cool to hear that from him. It's weird for me to sit with that, because I look back very fondly on the best stuff he did when he was doing that. Again, I look back to voice notes, Done For Me, How Long, Attention, LA Girls. Those are some of the best pop bangers of the late 2010s. I wish he wanted to make more of those. He clearly doesn't. So that's where I'm at with it. But let me know, what did you think of Charlie Puth's fourth album, Whatever's Clever? What do you think of this latest direction from the pop songwriter and singer? Let me know. And for more music reviews, subscribe. And I'll see you next time.